All right, Mech Warriors, we've got some incoming Battletech mailbag here, and I don't really know the answer to this. From the perspective of we were playing a role-playing campaign as the GM, I would allow it. We could come up with it. From the perspective of a player versus player, maybe, right? I mean, I'm always up for trying out new things in Battletech, and my feeling on it is if it's not in the rules and you want to build it or you want to try something interesting, because I'm doing my best to win, you're doing your best to win, but if we're doing this Battletech thing, I want something cool to happen. I want something unique to happen in every single game. I want to be challenged. I want to be surprised. So if you as a player want to try a custom mission or you got an interesting idea or something can happen, if we can come up with a ruling, which I think we can do for the most part, and if you can pay the battle value, or if it's a reasonable and feasible, then yeah, go for it. It might catch me up by surprise. I might lose, but hey, let's try it out. So the example was, I was asked a recent question, grenades in Battletech. Now, we've got a little Gundam kind of feel here. A friend of mine who's into that, also playing Battletech, looking at some of the different weapons, and he's like, Fritz, that Battletech lore, I don't see any grenades or high-impact explosive weapons that mechs can utilize, that mechs can throw. Think about that. Most of the weapons just seem to be point A to point B. You're down there, I'm here, I'm going to try and zap you with that laser. You're over there, I'm here, I'm going to try and shower you with those missiles. We do have indirect fire with the missiles. We do have artillery, but if you think about it with a mech, if we've got a building and I'm on one side of the building, City Fight, City Tech, you're on the other side of the building, I've got to move around to get a shot off at you. Why couldn't I stay at my corner of the building and on the edge there, just lob a grenade over at you? Now, of course, the sizing of that grenade, if it's Z scale, I think it would be the size of about a car, have that explosives. You could have some sort of feed on the back that feeds those grenades into a mech's hand that they could throw and toss. How much damage would that do? Would it just count as a single missile hit? Maybe 2 or 3 points? I don't know if it would do a ton of damage because it's not focused. It's not a shaped charge. Of course, there could be adjustments. Vet mechs take the least damage. Vehicles take a medium amount because we've got motive hits and things like that. Infantry take a full hit. Maybe just it didn't really happen in the narrative because the armor on a battle mech is very much armored. We talk about the damage that they take, but mechs are kind of immune to most small arms fire and most portable small weapons. Yeah, we've got AC-2s and we've got infantry weapons, but even the infantry anti-mech weapons, they're pretty powerful for what they can deliver. If we look at the lore of mechs themselves, autocannons, lasers, missiles, they are very, very potent and designed to punch through battle mech armor. And even with that, light mechs withstanding, mechs take a ton of damage, right? You've had that mech where both arms are blown off, left torso, right torso hurt, engine hit, you're smoking, you've got no weapons left, your right leg is just beat up, a couple of internals and it's going to fall off. But technically that machine's operational. Technically you're still in the game. Technically roll for initiative. So this idea, they can take a tremendous amount of punishment. Now, in the rules, of course, there are improvised weapons. We see this where if you're in a forest, you can use a club and it modifies the damage. You see this if a limb gets blown off of a mech, it's considered to be in the hex of that mech, and you can pick it up, assuming you can manipulate it. You have the arms to do that. So we could see this idea where, like, I could pick up and throw stuff. We could do that. I don't think it would have much impact in terms of the game other than just visuals. Like if we're talking, again, Z scale, if I picked up a bus and threw it at a mech, it would just hit and bounce off. I would be better off punching it. But if we had a charge, if we had something explosive that could utilize that, yeah, that could be interesting. So going from those mech warriors to mech tech and mech command, grenades for battle mechs. What would that look like? How many would you carry? I would assume it would be a feed internally, because if they're on the outside and you get hit and they blow, that feed might have 5 or so and feed them off into a mech's hands. What would the damage be? Would it just be 1 hex? Would it be a radius? Would there be modifiers based on mechs, again, infantry and vehicles? And how much battle value would that be? Would it be 5? Would it be 10? Would it be adjusted for tonnage? And then, of course, the battle value, would that be the weapon itself plus the feed system? If that feed system was external, could it bolt on over a mech and not count as the internal development diagram of it? A lot of options. I would play against it. If someone came up with a halfway good idea and showed up at the table, I'd be like, let's try some grenades. Can I throw some at you? Can you throw some at me? And let's see what happens. But in my tour of Battletech, I don't think I've ever seen it. I mean, we've had some interesting beatdowns where you're picking up limbs of machines, and we've had some interesting beatdowns with improvised weapons based on terrain to modify it, but that was more of desperation when we're out of ammo or for the lulls. But grenades themselves, where and how would they fit into the Battletech universe?